Welcome back, everyone. We hope you had a refreshing break. We will now begin our fourth panel session on pathways towards social advancement. Please welcome our moderators and panelists. For moderator, we have Professor David Bishop, Associate Director, HKJC Jockey Club Enterprise Sustainability Global Research Institute.
For the panelists on stage, we have Mr. Aldous, Executive Manager of Charities, Data Analytics and Integrated Reporting, the Hong Kong Jockey Club.
Dr. Kevin Franklin, Chief Growth Officer for LRQA.
Ms. Bonnie So, CEO, Secretary General, Hong Kong Red Cross.
And Mrs. Nicole Wong, Chief Executive Officer for WWF-Hong Kong.
Guess maybe you can stand up and take a group photo together first. Yes, please look at the photographer at the front, please. And then please look at the photographer at the back of the theater. Thank you. Please take a seat.
All right, welcome everybody. I'm really glad to be here today. My name is David Bishop, as was mentioned, and I'm a professor here in the business school, but a slightly different background. I primarily teach law and business ethics, and along with my students, have started a number of social innovation and NGO-related organizations. So today the session is we're calling it, I forget the specifics, it's Pathways Towards Social Advancement. All right, so that may sound like a bit of a derivation from what we've been discussing so far, and to an extent it is, but to start this journey, I want to kind of identify two words that are in the title of this institute that we're talking about today that kind of have been co-opted, and I think are important just to discuss very briefly so we can understand how this panel came together and what we're hoping that you can take away from it. First is enterprise. Now, enterprise, I think, has been co-opted as a word to an extent because enterprise, it was selected, I think, for this institute, but also generally refers to business. But that's actually not the root of the word enterprise. In fact, it refers to, it's like French for a bold journey. In fact, if there's any Star Trek fans out here, you know that it was the USS Enterprise, and that was not because it was some money-making spaceship that was going around the universe. It was actually looking for scientific advancement to take people further than they had ever been before. And the second is sustainability. And I think it's a good thing, I guess, to an extent, that sustainability has kind of been co-opted. But sustainability means a lot more than just carbon footprint or environmental sustainability. It's about creating systems and societies that can function in a sustainable way over the long term. And so in terms of how that integrates with this panel today, is because we've been talking a lot about value creation, about kind of typical, or at least 20th century economic models for creating value and how that can fit into a more sustainable future. But I think it kind of misses out on the idea that one of the sectors that's most relevant and most important towards pushing that type of enterprise sustainability is the not-for-profit and NGO sector. In fact, a lot of times the folks to my left are the type of people who are way out in front of these types of issues. And in terms of like climate change, for example, NGOs and scientists, obviously, and researchers have been preaching that we need to really get ahead of climate change for over a century now. And so I think a lot of us on here, we agree. Like a few years ago, we started seeing everyone on our bios or in LinkedIn had ESG in their title or something all of a sudden. And I know personally, I was asking them, like, what do you do? And I was just surprised to learn that apparently I had been doing ESG all along too, because that's exactly the stuff that guys like us or people like us are doing all the time anyway. And so today, as we're going to talk, just wanted to give an opportunity to kind of talk about how collaborative integration of both the for and not-for-profit sector is really key and important in order to ensure that we have a sustainable future going forward. And so first, we're going to start with Ms. Bonnie So, who is the CEO of Hong Kong Red Cross. and Ms. Nicole Wong, who is the CEO of WWF-Hong Kong. And we're going to give them a chance for us to introduce their organizations and then discuss what ESG means in those organizations and how they collaborate with the private sector and society in terms of like pushing these types of ideas and helping educate people in this space.
So can I stand up to make my sharing energetic to keep your attention in late afternoon? Okay, can I ask who are you from NGOs? Could you please raise your hand? Oh, not many. Okay, so I can say anything that. Those people, they are not familiar with the NGO sector. Okay, so ESG. So you just, I know all the listed companies in Hong Kong, they have to submit ESG report annually, but ESG is much more than compliance. So ESG is different from CSR. CSR maybe is a very old-fashioned word, CSR. So ESG, I think that is not the NGO asking the commercial sector to contribute. It's something that will work together hand in hand to collaborate, to make the world better. Better for what? Better for investment, and also better for living. So this is a win-win approach. So in the beginning, I started learning what is ESG. I remember 1 or 2 years ago, my former chairman told me that, Bonnie, ESG is a good opportunity that we can ask the company to donate money, just like CSR, okay? So I started learning about it. Actually, it's not exactly what he thought. Okay, especially for S, a lot of people have misunderstanding on S. So E or G, maybe we understand what exactly it is. S is not talking about ask company to donate money or to do volunteer work. It's talking about to provide safety and healthy environment for your staff, to treat your staff well, and also talking about product responsibility. So bear in mind that S is not something like social services, okay? So why ESG? Especially NGO, we don't have to submit ESG report if no compliance for ESG. But I found that it's a public expectation. So you can find from the figures. So over half, that means 50% of foundation assets are allocated to ESG investment. So many speakers in the previous section talk about that. And also the public expectation from your consumers or from your potential employees. They really look at ESG. If your company have ESG, you can attract consumers, and also you can attract employees. So this is something that is not a choice. So this is a trend we have to really follow. So I just want to share my humble experience on how Hong Kong Red Cross implement ESG in our organization. It's very down to earth. It's not something very big and significant. But I think that is small is beautiful. So that's why, for example, everything we start in a, want to make it as a direction, we have to start from the top level. So we have the strategies and we have a structure. After that, actions will be happening. So bottom up it doesn't work very well in ESG. So from top down. So first of all, we'll look at what the linkage between Hong Kong Red Cross 5-year strategic plan to ESG. So later on, I will share with you about the stock taking. And then this is the structure. So we have 1 council and 9 committees. So we have chosen 1 committee's governance, nomination, and development committee to take care of ESG at this moment. So we choose not to establish a ESG committee. We start from building something into our current structure. So we are so lucky. We have 2 experts in our committees. One is the one to write up the criteria of ESG many years ago. She worked in Hong Kong EX, 港交所. Okay, we invite her to join us, Ellie Peng. Another one is from Deloitte, is a partner to help listed company to write up their ESG report. So we have 2 experts in our committee that can help us to guide us to do ESG. So this is the structure. So also we have audit and risk committee is echo to G. Okay, this is the strategic direction. So maybe you have to think about whether you have already doing something on ESG. ESG is not rocket science. I think that your organization or your company have been doing something more than less linked to ESG. So that's why I have done a stock taking. So this is the 5-year strategic plan of Hong Kong Red Cross. from 2023 to 28. The ultimate goal is Hong Kong Red Cross want to build a community as a safe, healthy, and cohesive company to cope with emergency and crisis. This is the ultimate goal. And then we have 3 strategic aims. So they are quite related to E, S, or G. For the two pillars, one is strengthen emergency preparedness and response. So climate-related disaster that we know that it harms a lot of the, it's a natural disaster. So climate-related disaster is related to E. We have disaster preparation program, also disaster relief operation. And also health knowledge. So climate-related disaster also harm the health of the vulnerable groups. So that's why we have a lot of health programs. So S, we promote social cohesion and inclusion. And then we have 4 enabling action. We will provide training opportunities for our staff, empower their learning and innovation. And also we have a Green the Red group. And also we use data and technology to save the tree, okay, be more green. So, after looking at that, I found the Hong Kong Red Cross strategic plan is quite related to ESG. So maybe when you back to your office, you sit down to see whether your organization already work along with the ESG. So we don't need to start from scratch. So I show you E, S, and G, what Hong Kong Red Cross has been doing. So internally, we have set KPI. We want to reduce 15% of electricity consumption in 5 years. And also, we have already achieved the gold glass level under IAQ since 2018. And then we have a solar panel. I think that we are the first NGO to got the government funding to install the solar panel on the rooftop of our headquarters. Welcome to visit our headquarters, a lot to see. Huh? And we have recycle bins, okay. And we have Green the Red working group to promote 4R. We use, reduce, recycle, and reject. So I'll show you some very interesting activities. At that photo, that our staff go to look at the rubbish. What kind of rubbish our staff throw away in the rubbish bin? And maybe some of the stuff should not be thrown in the rubbish bin, should be thrown in the recycle bin. So this is a kind of education for our staff. And also we visit the Olympic City to learn how to manage the kitchen waste under the recycle mechanism. And also we collect different things, the mooncake tin box, the Chinese New Year packet. We go to the beach to clean the beach, and also we recycle the coffee grounds to be a natural soap. So a lot of different kind of activities. And okay, externally that we have procurement guideline for green procurement. And also, for example, we use the FSC certified display board for our exhibition. And also we have activities to organize for the community. Let's say the cooking workshop, the homemade natural soap workshop. And also, Red Cross is an international humanitarian organization. So that's why we sometimes will launch a appeal to raise money to support climate-related disaster in overseas. And this one is very interesting. We work with another NGO in Sai Kung that to protect the coastal line to against from the damage from the heavy waves. So a lot of collaboration. And this is the recycle bag. This one. Okay. So we just won a silver award from a campaign that is upcycling product. So this bag that recycled from a windbreaker, and then this is available for sales in the Red Cross shop in our headquarters. And you want to buy it, approach me. Huh? And also we have the umbrella bag. Yeah. Okay, social. Hong Kong Red Cross famous for blood donation, but more than blood donation, we have a lot of community services. So we have 30,000 volunteers. We don't have a big number of staff. We just have 400 paid staff, but we have 30,000 volunteers, and then we serve 2.5 million beneficiaries every year. So you can see a lot of disaster relief operation and first aid operation. And then, as I mentioned, that S is more than social service. S is to treat your staff well. So that's why we have a lot of staff wellness program. We have employee survey. And the most important thing is not to ask the employee to take the survey, but to follow up their suggestions and then to look at their complaints. And we have a physical and mental health program. Sometimes we will hire massage service for staff. We have exercise. We have established 2 sports teams. Dragon Boat team, we will have a competition next week, tag long. And then we have football team, tag 1. If you have sports team and want to battle with us, please contact me. And then we have a lot of staff training program. We have a series of P program, IDP, individual development program, MDP, EDP, and also CBP. So for different levels of staff, from the executive to manager and head and senior staff. Okay, G, some people think that NGO is a very loose governance and management. I think it's not up to date. NGOs are looking for accountability. So that's why we have a very comprehensive structure. 1 council and 9 committee, and then they will look at the strategic direction. They will not micromanage our operation. And then we strive for balance for the gender. But now it's not that good. It's a 30% female and 70% male. But in Hong Kong, females sometimes speak more than men. So, but I think that we will look for, strive for 50-50. Yeah? And we have we have youth engagement policy. So the youngest council member in our council is 20-something. She is a medical student. And also we have a lot of training, orientation, and communication with our governance. Because those committee members, they are high society people, they're professional. But it doesn't mean that they know how to be committee members in your organization. That's why we have a lot of training and requirement for them to be a very good, qualified committee member in our organization to steer the direction of Hong Kong Red Cross. We have guidelines, and then also we have internal and audit committee. Not many NGO they afford to have that department, but we still spare some capacity or resources to have internal audit and risk committee. And then every year we'll do risk register to identify top 10 risks, followed by audit plan, internal audit plan. Okay, last slide. So NGO do ESG to have some good things is, first of all, remember that ESG is not a separate thing. It should be integrated to your strategies and strategic direction. Don't make it into another plan, okay? So because it can help you to meet the expectation of your stakeholders, including your volunteers, your donors, or your staff and your customers, and also can help you to have operational efficiency, and also can create positive work environment within your organization. I don't know why the young generation love green very much, okay? And because maybe the future, that is their future, okay? And then we will create a partnership with our stakeholders, and also remind us to have compliance on every single regulations and policy. So this is ESG in NGO. Thank you.
Bonnie, WWF.
So I should have a slide. Can someone prepare for me? Okay, before the slide show up here, I have a slide, so someone is preparing that. Okay. So I hope you know my organization. I come from the Green NGO, the WWF-Hong Kong. So yeah, the logo is coming out, so you know that. And for today, thank you for Hong Kong U Business School inviting me to share our thoughts about ESG with all of you. My sharing is more about some of the latest trend and also how we work together with our partners. To start from that, quite similar to Bonnie. Although we are NGO, but we also concerned about some things start from C. To my organization, of course, we're concerned about conservation, the first C. The second one is communication. When we do our conservation work, we need to communicate out so that more people know what you are doing. And the third C is, you may be surprised for that, because we come from NGO, and people think we are NGO, we don't need money, cash. So cash is important that can enable us to do more things better. And in recent year, we also take care 2 more C, that is co-create and collaborate. And that is very important, particularly in nowadays changing environment. So I don't go into details about that, but in Hong Kong, globally, we have more than 100 authors, but in Hong Kong, we just celebrate our 40 years anniversary, and we focus on ocean, wetlands, micro work, and also the biodiversity, wildlife, and green cities, sustainable city. This is perfectly aligned with what we are going to talk today. This is the challenge. A lot of the speaker mentioned about that. One key thing is behind this 4 icon. Actually, there's a lot of data behind. Even for the climate risk, it's talk about 1.5 degrees. I have a discussion with KS. KS is not here, and argue with them before. They stick on 2 degrees. We stick on 1.5. So this is an example that why the figures is important. Why data collection and science-based targets are important for us to measure our performance and impact, and how we can do better in the coming future. I will talk more about what that means to us. I love to share these 2 pictures, and these 2 pictures were taken by me. Why I stop here? You may remember what happened. I guess you may be sleeping on 17 September 2018, or what happened? Why I wake up that the whole MTR was flooded, particularly in Wong Tai Sin 1. And when I just want to tell a story with you, very quick, other than science data, the real story about the impact of climate change is very important. I share my personal story with you. Whenever there's adverse weather, I can't sleep well at home. I worry about my nature reserve at Maipo. I worry about the environment and the nearby people living in that area. And for the Typhoon Mangkhut, you can see, it's just a wet silver, is it? No, it is a gateway. And in the middle, it actually is a road. It already flooded for 2 meters. And hundreds of trees that fallen down just within the nature reserve. And we found a lot of wildlife, that birds was found after that typhoon. And also, I don't need to go into details about last year's impact about bad windstorm. And beside that stuff, actually there's a lot of fish swimming beside him. This is disaster. This is not a joke. So it is real. And I'm glad to know many people come here, you agree it is a fact. When I did our conservation work back in preparing for the Copenhagen conference back in 2008 and 2009, 2008 and 2009, what are you talking about? Climate change, what is this? No, they deny. But nowadays, more people get on the boat. We talk about go beyond just climate change. We talk about ESG, how you can work. But actually, not just climate change. It's also about biodiversity degradation. And in short, the GBF, the Global Biodiversity Framework that talk about in 2022, a lot of important guidelines and facts that bring to you that is reverse the nature loss by 2030s. And for us, WWF in global, we also mention about the biodiversity loss. Compared to the first data that we have, 1970s, 69% of population of the wildlife already dropped. Is an alarm. If we don't do it and start the curve, put it upwards, and by 2030, to do a nature positive situation, the situation is getting even worse. And in Hong Kong situation, we are still living in a very good urban city. Did you know that every one of us are spending 4.4 planets resources? That means if everyone in the world that living like us in Hong Kong, we need 4.4 Earth, 4.4個地球先可以足夠我哋去生活。Is this sustainable? Wow, not scare you guys. That's enough, I know. But what we can do, what NGO can bridge the gap. This is the policy that done by the government. And this is the situation, talk about ESG disclosure. I want you to focus on where are we, Hong Kong, compared to other city in the stock exchange, Hong Kong EX. And the key things right here is we talk about a lot of data collection and also science-based target and how to disclose those data to monitor our performance. And for NGOs, this is a trend. If I call it evolution. From the early days, we talk about money donation, what I say cash, and like Jockey Club, HSBC, and other big corporate. And the second involvement from the corporate, that is their staff engagement and voluntary work. And nowadays, we are doing more collaboration and co-creation on can we help each other to do the corporate operation transformation and embed sustainability elements into their ESG report. Here are some examples, very quick. Of course, I don't need to go into the details, but when we do our conservation work, for example, coral restoration, wildlife conservation at wetlands, we involve our partners, our donor, to do it together with us and let them know more facts and how the challenge that, is it just put that corals from the tank back in the Tolo Harbor? Is it make it work? Or what's the challenge behind? Then they can know the knowledge and they can add by themselves. This is another two example. You can go into the link and then note the details, but I want to bring out the fact that starting from 2010, we start to help the industry and also some of the office. They may be pretty small, talking about the SME, to help them to do a science-based or more systematic way to reduce their target emission. Today, talk about a lot of scope 1, 2, 3, but how they can do it, and they are more self-initial and also through the process is include the baseline and also the verification, report, and communicate back with their staff. Otherwise, you cannot get your staff engagement. This is the process, and from us, we encourage how many you can do, you do it. Otherwise, if scope 3 is too difficult, then I give up. Then the influence may be less. And another new program that we also target on the SME, because we know the big corporate, they have resources. But what we do in the last 2 years, we got the funding from the SDF fund, government fund, and we work together with Salon, Hong Kong CSS, to help and Salon take care about the social impact, but we provide the support and help the SME to implement their environmental related campaign. And this is the figures. And a lot of the observation and also feedback to us is they need more clear understanding and what to do and good example. So I share until now first, and I'll pass on to others to share more on the ESG topics.
Thank you. Yeah, now we're going to hear from Aldous CHIU, who engages in data analytics and integrated reporting for the Hong Kong Jockey Club. And I think this is another interesting perspective. So we have two kind of traditional INGOs doing great work in the space, and now looking at it more from the funder perspective. But not only are they obviously one of the main funders in Hong Kong and the generous donor of the Institute itself, but many of you may not realize they are the single largest taxpayer in Hong Kong. And so if we think of like the NGO sector, which we often don't do, as an enterprise or part of these enterprises, it is a very substantial source of revenue, and not only in terms of the tax base, but also in terms of jobs. Thousands and thousands of jobs in Hong Kong are provided through this sector. So Aldous, do you want to go through kind of from the Jockey Club perspective, how you guys handle funding and giving and how that's transitioned, but also in terms of the organization internally and how you guys are integrating ESG?
Thank you, David. I think a lot of people know Jockey Club. I think it's a different perspective, but today I'm more focusing on the mission with the betterment of society. I think in particular, I want to cover what we have evolved in the past 100 years. At the same time, why some new development initiative focus that can share that you can know how we support or work together with the NGOs, grantees as partners together to help the society. Okay, this is our business model, the 4-pillar thing, which is we call it the integrated business model, which is serving for the betterment of society. Actually, the core part we call it is the third distribution, is the charity part. We start 100 years ago to do the things, and we continue to serve the community. In particular, in last fiscal year 2022 to 23, we donate or committed to donate 7.3 billion Hong Kong to different grantees for different types of projects. And we actually evolved from over time for serving all the changes or needs on the society. And we start 100 years ago, as you said. From beginning, we are doing more like a funder. We just provide fundings for the emergency needs, also certain infrastructure, for example, swimming pool, clinics, and all that. And gradually evolving, we think it's not just doing that. We try to be proactively addressing the service gap. We start to work with certain partners to deliver the needs in society. And finally, I think recently we do more. We actually become a convener and also catalyst. We bring in parties, different parts of the organization, for sometimes agency, NGOs, even researchers, together put together to do some pilot projects. We think there's potential needs or soon to be needed in the society so as to steer up certain requirement for the future. So that's the changes. And of course that is involving, which recent years we call something called Trust Initiative Projects, exactly what we are doing. We're evolving from 1.0, now it's 3.0, is to the extent that we are from beginning, not just everything set from the beginning, we can finance certain pilot project, and until later on we can spear into really actualize and fine tune to really do the things. Okay. The trust, as we said, consistently we are in the top 10 of the global foundation need table. We are always the #1 in Asia. But it's not just money, but we also support a lot of films and a lot of focuses. For recent years, we are consolidated almost to these 6 priority issues, we said. And this have been, with these films together, we actually refresh all the same thing in May 2023 year, and it covers the key elements like positive aging and elderly care, youth development and poverty elevation, healthy community, talent and sector development, sports and culture, and sustainability. It looks a lot of places, but to be frank, I think in Hong Kong, in a lot of Asia foundations, the key point we against the West is West a lot of time is only doing certain, say, a foundation doing just for equity, fairness, or health. But in a lot of Asia, particularly Hong Kong Jockey Club, we actually do covering the whole life of the society. Anything we see there's a gap that needs the issues we cover. That's why it's broadly based. And sustainability also one of the things we're covering on. Okay, so with more, recently with more, we call trust-initiated projects, we are adopting more a catalytic approach to do that. So that's why we are collective driving more and more positive impact. I think it's not just from the first level, we call it direct beneficiary impact. And then we also want to enhance the sector, because not just helping the beneficiary, you have to build the sector in order to have the capacity to serve more people. I think that's important. Finally, we call the ecosystem change. In case we're able to not just affect more sector capacity, we're able to help the system to develop certain standard, certain protocol. For example, the certain project we use it, we actually adopted by the Education Bureau into the curriculum that will actually make a standard to helping all of the society. I think that's something we would like to see it happen at all. Of course, not just talking about driving impact. Recently, we also developed a new framework for integrated impact measurement and also reporting, so as to enable, we call it social value accounting, and also the impact communications. We use the validated measurements in order to put in reflected in beginning stage in the design, in the program level for those measurements to measure against the impact we want to see. And then another thing we see is it's not just Hong Kong. We're doing a lot of philanthropic thing. I think it's also in the better good for the whole world. That's why in last year, September, funded together by the club and other charities, we established something called Institute of Philanthropy. What it is actually it's a thing fund do tank. We are anchored in Asia, anchored in the East, but we want the global East to share with each other in the philanthropic world and work together for the betterment of society everywhere in case through we call impactful philanthropy. And through that, we would like to see collaboration more, the East side, the Greater China, the East and West together to form alliance for the benefit, because something happened in somewhere will benefit the other side. So that's what I'm going to share today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then finally, to kind of tie all this together, you can clap, it's okay. They provided the funding, so we can definitely clap for the Jockey Club, right? Yeah, but to tie this all together, Dr. Kevin Franklin, Chief Growth Officer at LRQA, very vast experience for decades now in pretty much every aspect of ESG, and hopefully can kind of tie all this together in terms of the different sectors, but also in terms of how E and the S kind of tie together towards that goal of making a better society.
I'll certainly do my best.
Very simple, 5 minutes, go ahead.
Challenge, yeah. So yeah, thank you to Hong Kong University and obviously to the Jockey Club for setting up this whole initiative and for the opportunity to speak today. And thank you to our fellow panelists today for many reasons, not least the pioneering work that you so often do, driving the sustainability and ESG agenda forward. It's kind of fitting that I'm one of the last panelists of the day, because actually the type of work that LRQA does is actually one of the last parts of work in the ESG and sustainability equation, most notably the piece relating to assurance. We heard earlier today, I think from Dr. Ma, he spoke about the need for verification, independent third-party verification of data, and in that context, he was referring to carbon data specifically. That's one of the things that we as LRQA do. We do verification of ESG data and assurance around the quality of that data, the management systems and tools that companies of all levels and forms are deploying globally. As a business, LRQA is around 250 years old, actually. We originated in the UK sometime in the 1700s, and we're around 5,000 people globally. Around 300 or 400 of those people are based in China. And about 80% of what we do as a company is focused on ESG. We work with companies globally across all sectors, supporting transformation and assurance. So we're very different to NGOs, but we're complementary because we're ultimately checking and confirming that those standards and tools are being well implemented and deployed effectively. As I mentioned, we work with all sectors and all industries in 100+ different countries, but we really focused on assurance and verification around these 5 main solution areas or themes. So responsible sourcing, net zero energy transition, food and product integrity, management systems, and cyber, all of which are connected as part of the kind of wider ESG agenda. Even though we're 250 years old, we recognize that actually there's a lot we need to do as a business to evolve and move more quickly to now and empower companies and other actors to be able to better manage sustainability and ESG issues. What I mean is, some of the initial tools in this industry, tools like environmental management systems, ISO 14001, ISO 9001, etc., were developed for the 1980s. There were a range of additional tools that came in the 1990s and early 2000s as we got access to the internet and data started to move much more quickly. But the world has changed hugely over the last 10 years, 5 years, even 2 years with generative AI. We're now at a point where we need continuous data monitoring, continuous assurance, an ability to adapt continuously to a range and a series of different waves of actions and momentum that are impacting not just us as individuals or organizations, but globally, and that are driving ESG and sustainability forward. There are 3 primary forces that we're most interested in, most notably cybersecurity, supply chain integrity, and obviously what ESG means from a regulatory and governance perspective. I'm not going to use all of these slides, given that I know we need to stay on track with your timing agenda. And typically what we do is we work with companies leveraging services from different parts of our portfolio in these 4 different areas, whether it's assessment, inspection, advisory, or cyber, to build a solution that fits their requirements. And that solution supports and drives forward each of those 5 different areas. So we will combine services from consulting, advisory, data, and analytics to help a company better manage energy, to drive and to support emissions reductions, or to deal with responsible sourcing, etc. All of these different activities generate and leverage data to be more effective, data-driven, and be able to act based on data-driven information. Ultimately, it connects in a workflow, which is a workflow of due diligence. I think most of the regulation, and we've heard about some of it during the course of today, whether it's regulations in Europe, whether it's stock exchange requirements, whether it's what's coming through regulatory finals in China, pretty much all regulation connects back to a workflow similar to this, plan, do, check, act workflow, which is upfront diagnostic, risk assessment, program design, on-the-ground implementation and delivery, data collection, benchmarking, and trending to support continuous improvement. Ultimately, we're driving a plan, do, check, act continuous improvement cycle with respect to all aspects of ESG, environmental, social, and governance. And the key takeaways, just to summarize again, are the need for solutions that align and fit the requirements of businesses and other actors, to leverage and use data to inform those decisions, to work more effectively leveraging combinations of on-the-ground and desk-based work. So we use our teams on the ground in countries to drive and provide that assurance, and to be able to adapt and evolve one's program on a much more near real-time basis to support real-time insights and evolution of both the sustainability program and also the assurance agenda, giving more confidence and trust around the assertions made by businesses in particular relating to their ESG credentials.
All right, thank you. So I'm getting the sign that we're pretty much out of time, but I want to make sure we get in just a couple questions here. And the first one, I'm just going to be selfish and do this just to throw it out to the panel. There's a lot of talk about collaboration, and I think what Aldous said earlier, and really an underlying theme, is that the NGOs in the space, we often don't think about them in this context, but they are the gap fillers, right? So everything that happened in the earlier panels, we say, well, there's no market viability for this thing. That thing is normally driven by nonprofits and NGOs or registered charities, including, by the way, this institution, Hong Kong U, is a registered charity here in Hong Kong, and that is true in terms of research, that is true in terms of funding, that is true in so many different areas, especially pioneers that are out there, getting out there and really getting their hands dirty and doing things. So very quickly from the panel, what are some specific takeaways that you can think of where there can be private sector and civil society collaboration to kind of push some of these initiatives forward? What are some examples you've seen, some case studies? Like, what would you like to see people in the room do in terms of collaboration going forward?
Maybe I would like to share one example on a very good collaboration with universities. So recently we have a project to work together with one university. Usually, university good at research, and then Hong Kong Red Cross, we have a project site. So this project is about people living in the SDU, subdivided units, very small and cage house, something like. And then they have placed small device in the our beneficiaries, the flats, to measure the quality of the air and also measure the temperature, and also measure the humidity, and then to see how vulnerable the living environment of our beneficiaries. And then they got the data to use for their academic use and for their research. And then Hong Kong Red Cross got the data, and then we can establish service, some assistance to improve the living environments of our beneficiaries. I think that this kind of collaboration is perfect. So I think that we will have more this kind of collaboration with different universities, maybe Hong Kong U in a later stage. And then one more thing I want to promote, and I invite collaboration from all of you. We have a experiential program in our headquarters under the Humanitarian Education Center. It's a 2 hours program. So you can come to experience 2 hours on a theme called Climate 2030. So during the drama things or the interaction games, you will experience how the climate change will affect people in 2030. So now still how many years to go? So you can come to experience it, and then you have lots of reflection. So please contact me if you want to have this kind of program. And then each group, we can accommodate about 30 people. 20 to 30 people is a good number to experience the experiential program. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'll give you an example. So I think if you're following sustainability, you will probably have heard of one of the milestone events in our industry, which is the Rana Plaza factory collapse that happened in Bangladesh in 2013. Basically, there was a fire and a factory collapsed, killing thousands of workers. This was in an apparel factory, 6+ floors high factory that collapsed as a result of this fire. As a result of that, the entire apparel industry in Bangladesh came together really with 2 industry initiatives, one called the Bangladesh Alliance and another one called the Bangladesh Accord, to drive fire safety standards consistently across all apparel factories. 2,000+ apparel factories in Bangladesh now are part of this initiative. This all happened since 2013. One of the really central parts of this process is a hotline or a helpline that workers in those factories can use to contact if they are or see concerns relating to potentially building, structural integrity, labor standards, etc. We actually run this helpline. It's called Amada Kota Helpline. And we've actually scaled helplines like this in 10 other countries on commodities like coffee in Brazil and palm oil in Malaysia. In order to do this effectively, right, we're working with businesses who are paying for this initiative. We're the intermediary. But to do it effectively, we work with local NGO partners because they are the people that the workers trust most. Right? They don't trust us as a third party, they don't trust the factory owners necessarily, and they don't trust the businesses. But they do trust their local NGOs that they know and work with on a day-to-day basis, who have no other agenda to make sure that their interests are being met. So this is one of the best examples that I've ever seen, right? 3 different stakeholders working together. Now that we are scaling these helplines in other countries, in every case, we've embedded a local NGO to be the intermediary to support actually in the remediation of those grievances as they are raised by the workers.
And that's how Kevin and I met, actually. One of the NGOs that I started, we do work in the migrant worker space, and so that's how we originally met. So I know we, unfortunately, are getting the lights to wrap up. Many of you may have questions for them, so please go ahead and, I guess, meet with them afterwards or contact them. I'm sure, especially the NGOs, would love to have your support and collaboration and cash, right, the third and most important C. But yeah, thank you to all our panelists, and really appreciate the time that you all spent explaining what your organizations do.
Environmental, social, and governance issues, and the actions to take.